What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about my 2019 fall forecast. So this is my first forecast. This is not my final forecast. So I know some people were thinking it's pretty early, but once again, this is my first forecast. I'll have a lot of these until we get to fall, and then I'll start on the winter ones. But for now, I already did start on the winter ones, but it wasn't really a main forecast. It was just kind of a winter thoughts, not a forecast. But we're going to go ahead and get into this video. But before actually we do that, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below if you do enjoy this video. If you do enjoy, I would appreciate it if you do. But let's go ahead and get into this video because I have a lot to show y'all. Alright, so first we're going to get into the temperature forecast. So you can see this is different than I usually do. I'm trying this out because I do like doing this. So you can see across a lot of the south into parts of California, up across parts of the southern East Coast and the Gulf Coast, we're expecting warm conditions like usual, maybe a little warmer than normal, but that's what we're seeing in that red area. Now you can see as we move into the white, that is your equal chances. So we have about a 33.3% chance of above normal, below normal, or normal. So that's where I'm thinking we really don't know what's going to happen there yet, and we will have to see what happens right there. So that's kind of the area where I'm going to have to fill that in over the next month and weeks. That's what I'll be filling in, and I could change some stuff around too. All right, now we're going to move on to the dark gray. That is where we'll see no set pattern, most likely. That's going to be along the Appalachian Mountains, also into most of the Northeast. And now we move on to the pink. That is our colder conditions. So this is where we'll see the coldest of the temperatures this fall. This is going to be across a lot of the Great Lakes region into North Dakota, South Dakota, parts of Nebraska, also into Missouri, most of the Ohio Valley, also into western Pennsylvania, and also as we get near around southwestern parts of New York. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and move on a little bit more west. You can see in the light blue we have cooler conditions. So this is where it'll be a little cooler, not as cold as the pink area, but it'll be a little cooler than average, not too much though. It'll still be pretty cool for these areas. It's not like it's gonna, in these areas it's pretty cool already, so most of it's pretty much just a little cooler than average. So you can see, and this will be in Montana, Idaho, also Wyoming, western parts of Nebraska, and South Dakota. Okay, now we're going to move on to the yellow. That is your normal temperatures. This is going to be in parts of Oregon, also into Washington. Usually we see about the same stuff every single year, nothing really different. Sometimes we'll see a little bit different, but usually it's just normal everything for them because they get a lot of rain and cooler temperatures. Usually that's how it goes there. Alright, now we're going to move on to the precipitation forecast. You can see we're going to go ahead and start with Oregon and Washington. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just going to be really damp. So damp, and it's going to be pretty damp and just cool for you like usual. As we move on to the southwest, that's where we're going to be doing drier conditions. Also, as we move into parts of central Texas towards parts of New Mexico, especially southern New Mexico, you can see that we have no set pattern, so it's just like the pattern for the temperatures. We don't have a really set pattern with the precipitation. It'll be changing a lot as we move through fall. For now, that's where we're not too sure about yet. We're a little bit more sure than equal chances, but not too sure. As we move on to the dark red, that's where we'll see most of our severe weather. So that's going to be through a lot of the Tennessee Valley, also into parts of Texas, pretty much the most eastern chunk of Texas. We're seeing that severe weather. Also maybe into parts of the Mid-Atlantic. Now in the green, that is where we're going to see wetter conditions. That's going to be along most of the East Coast, a lot of the East Coast, like the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, and the Gulf Coast. And I do think we'll see severe weather in this area. I'm not saying we won't. I just put wetter here because it'll be wetter here than in the severe weather area. But we will still see severe weather definitely in the green area also. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the gray. That is where we'll be seeing mountain snow. This is mostly along the Rocky Mountains. I just wanted to include this because we most likely will be seeing it. Also, when we move into these mountains, as we move into those mountains, we will most likely be seeing mountain snow because that's pretty much what we see every single year. It's not going to be really different. Okay, so as we move into the light blue, that's where we may see a possible early snowstorm. This usually happens in northern Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, parts of Montana, also into Minnesota, and even parts of Wisconsin, and also we'll spread that into the blue, dark blue area. Really, the blues go together, but with the possible early snowstorm, but not the lake effect. So some lake effect snow is possible. I don't think this will be way worse than it usually is, because if it's going to be cooler in these areas, as you can see, the waters aren't going to be as warm, and when the waters aren't as warm, I know this, some people don't think of it this way, but you have to be a little warmer to get that lake effect snow, because you need the lakes to warm up to create a little bit more moisture. So we'd have a little bit more convection in the air to make more snow, but really it's not looking like we're going to have a lot more than usual, but we will still see our lake effect snow. Once again, we could still see that possible early snowstorm moving into the blue areas also. Now, once again, as we move into the white, you can see that's where we're seeing our equal chances. This is probably the biggest equal chances I have, just because usually precipitation is really hard to predict, because you can get that one rogue low pressure cold front, of course, that'll move through the whole country and it messes everything up. But this is a summary right now of what this fall could look like. This will definitely change over the month about, and I will finally have a final forecast sometime in September. Okay, so here's my overall forecast. This puts the temperature and the precipitation together into regions. So you can see in the yellow, once again, in Oregon and Washington, you can see that's where we're going to see our raw weather. So pretty much just unpleasant weather. It's going to be cool, damp, really not really fun weather to be in. Some people might find it fun, but I don't. Now, as we move into parts of the lighter red, that's where it's going to be dry and hot, so we could get a drought setting up in the southwest. As we move into the darker grays, you can see that's where we're seeing no set pattern. So that's in parts of the northeast and near Texas, once again, where they were in both of those forecasts. And you can see as we move into the lighter gray, that's where that mountain snow is, of course, across the Rocky Mountains. And into the purple, that's where we're seeing our cooler conditions. That'll also spread into these parts of the gray. I just really wanted to make sure y'all saw the mountain snow, but they will expand in here to the cooler conditions. So don't worry about that. That's still going to spread into it. I just didn't want to color over it. As we move into the lighter blue, that's where we'll see our colder weather once again. Now, this lighter blue, once again, will be spread into the darker blue. It's just I had to make the darker blue its own thing because of the lake effect snow and possible snowstorm. But you can see in the colder weather, that's going to be in parts of eastern Montana and parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. So that's where we're seeing our colder weather than usual. And now we move on to the dark blue. That's where we could see our lake effect snow along the Great Lakes. Also, you can't forget about parts of New York and Pennsylvania where we see our lake effect snow. Also parts of Ohio. But you can see, and also the possible snowstorm, we could see also in these dark blue areas. All right, so now we're going to move on to the darker red. That is the severe weather and the wet weather. That'll be across a lot of parts of southeastern Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and most of North Carolina. That's where we'll be seeing that. I would even move, this was not, it's just a little bit off, but if we were to bring this is where this should be. Okay, yeah, I just got to fill in the hole. But that's what we're seeing there. So it'll be most of North Carolina except for the mountains. We will have to see. That's where we see our no-set pattern once again in the Appalachian Mountains. There's really no set pattern usually because you can have storms and then snow just because there's really high elevation there. And then in the white, that is going to be where it's pretty normal. That'll definitely change. We'll probably expand some stuff, contract some stuff in the system. But for now, this is what I'm seeing for this fall. Things will change. It's looking like a neutral pattern as we saw in 2016, 2017 winter. So this is a little bit like what our fall is shaping up to look like also. So you can see we do have the warm and dry across parts of the southwest. Also through here we have our warmer conditions also through here just like mine. It takes the occasional cold a little bit cooler, a little bit more south just because it's winter. But you can see it says early lake effect, just like I was saying. So it's looking a lot like the winter of 2016 or 17, even say the fall of 2016. That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. As you can see, there's really no set pattern here also in the frequent storms. So it's looking a lot like the fall of 2016. Not the winter, but the fall. It's looking like that. Alright guys, so I hope y'all did enjoy this video. Once again, if you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below if you did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good day. Goodbye.